What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and on this channel, we break down the trials and cases you care most about so you can understand how the American civil and criminal justice system works. And we try to make sure you understand what your rights are in every situation, which is why we try to walk you through the entire legal process while also answering your insightful questions along the way. And while it's not legal advice, it's always exciting. So buckle up for another episode of The Lawyer You Know. What's up, everybody? We are back today to talk Gabby Petito. We haven't talked about this case in a little while. Some stuff has been going on here and there in the Florida cases. But if you remember way back in the archives, I have always felt like the best and most plausible case of negligence that could have attributed or caused or failed to prevent the tragic events that happened was this case against the Moab Police Department. Her parents have filed a lawsuit in Utah against the police department for their negligent investigation and not following proper police protocols, which could and should have prevented the events that followed from occurring. So hit that like button if you are still interested in the Gabby Petito content. If you're still interested in the multiple cases going on, you can let me know that by hitting the like button, by getting in the comments, getting your questions in so I can answer them, and we can continue talking about this case as we go. And of course, we're doing the continued coverage on other cases like Murdoch every single day. So that's why this is not live and it is a pre-recorded premiere, because I still want to get this content out to you. I still want to get my thoughts out to you, but I don't have time to do multiple lives a day and answer all your questions on every case. But we will circle back to this case when Murdoch is over. But I do want to provide you with updates as we get them. And that's exactly what happened today. So what did the Moab police know? What did they see? We've saw some body cam footage, but today Parker and McConkey released a photo and a statement on their website about what Gabby Petito looked like that day and what law enforcement did with that information. This was a photo taken by Gabby Petito that shows she was violently assaulted and was likely strangled and or suffocated prior to her interaction with Moab police on August 12th, 2021, which happened prior to her death. So here is the picture. Blood smeared across her face. Clearly, she does have a cut. She is sweating. Something obviously happened here. The photo above, now I'm reading from the document again, found on Gabby's cell phone was taken by Gabby in the back of her van in Moab, Utah on August 12, 2021, prior to her stop by Moab police. According to available data, the image was taken on 4:37 p.m. at or before the approximate time of the initial 911 call. So it continued after this. Was this what sparked it? Was this what started it? We don't know. But it seems like there's going to be a lot of information from Gabby Petito's phone that we don't know about yet that could affect the Florida cases and will obviously affect this Utah case. As alleged in the complaint filed on November 3rd, 2022, Gabby took a photograph of her injury, which shows blood across her nose and left eye. Gabby pointed out the injury to Officer Pratt, but he ignored her and did nothing more to investigate or document the injury. That's pretty bad. The photo demonstrates the cut previously noted on her left cheek, as well as blood smeared from her forehead across her left eye and cheek and over her nose, indicating that she was grabbed over her face in such a way that her airways were likely obstructed. Gabby documented the injury and, during the stop, attempted to tell the Moab police officers. However, the seriousness and significance of this type of assault and injury was completely ignored. So I will say, to be fair, some of you like to remind me I am a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer, and some of this might feel like a stretch, that he strangled or tried to suffocate her. But she did kind of, put her hand like this, so blocking her airways. What they're trying to do is show that it was foreseeable that something that was like the death described by Brian Laundrie, potentially described by the medical examiner, blocking airways, strangulation, something like that was akin to the attack, the assault, the domestic violence issue that happened in August prior to her death. And that's why they're using this verbiage. That's why they're trying to make that point clear. In the photo, Petito, they're now quoting from the body cam footage, said he like grabbed my face, like I guess he didn't hit me in the face. He didn't like punch me in the face. The officer, did he slap your face or what? Petito, well, he like grabbed me with his nail, and I guess that's why it hurts. I definitely have a cut, like I can feel it. The officers ignored this critical evidence and did nothing to follow up on or further investigate Gabby's report that Brian had violently grabbed her face and cut her cheek. So I do think that there is some exaggerative language in here, but from the jump, from the body cam footage, from the 911 calls, from the reports, from what Gabby looked like in that video where she was called the aggressor. And we know sometimes the smaller person in the relationship, or the female or the male, either one of them could be the aggressor. Either one of them can be the victim. We've learned that a lot over the years. However, I do think it would make a difference if she was bleeding and had a cut on her face. And, you know, if the officers would have investigated more, what would they have found? Could it have resulted in preventing her future death? And was it foreseeable? Should they have known? Should whatever they have done, whatever's in the proper protocol or procedures, would that have prevented their coming back together and eventual culmination in her death at the hands of Brian Laundrie? The Utah Criminal Code's definition of aggravated assault includes any act that impedes the breathing or circulation through an act of violence by applying pressure to the neck or throat, or by obstructing the nose or mouth or airway. So they are saying that because he put his hand like this and potentially restricted her airway, either her nose or her mouth or both, that he committed the act of aggravated assault. And therefore, he should have been arrested and thrown in jail. And if he would have been in jail, then it would have prevented Gabby's death. I think it is a pretty strong civil line of thinking and way of connecting the dots that will probably end up resulting in some kind of settlement. But I think this is much stronger than some of the evidence that we've seen so far, or lack thereof, in the Florida case. But this is definitely a case where we don't know everything. This is definitely a case where things are going to come out and be surprising, I think. Domestic violence experts who have reviewed the evidence have stated that all the clues lead us to conclude that Gabby was most likely strangled and or suffocated by Brian before the police arrived on August 12, 2021. I don't know how strong that is, but they have experts that say it. Domestic violence research shows that if a victim of intimate partner violence is strangled or suffocated even one time, she is 750% more likely to be killed by that person. Wow. Wow. It's a big percentage. Now I definitely get it that they're more likely to continue in that type of domestic violence. A lot of abusers get an MO. They do similar abuses or similar abusing in the future that they did in the past. But I didn't realize the numbers were that staggering, that they're that much more likely to be killed by that person. Again, very good when we're talking a civil cause of action here. This tragic photo of Gabby makes clear several critical points. This tragic photo of Gabby makes several critical points clear. Number one, Gabby was not the predominant aggressor when she was assaulted by Laundrie on August 12th. Gabby was likely strangled and or suffocated by Laundrie before the police arrived on August 12th. I think that one might be the toughest one to prove. Moab police failed to recognize that the violent grabbing of Gabby's face and obstruction of her nose, mouth, and airway as a critical precursor to the eventual death by strangulation that occurred a short time later. So now that's one of the big ones. Police should have known, or knew or should have known. They should know what the laws are. They should know what it takes to break the law. They should know what facts fit into the circumstances that make it a crime. And if they would have known that, they would have arrested Brian Laundrie, and it would have been 750% more likely to prevent her death. Moab police failed to listen to Gabby, failed to investigate her injuries and the seriousness of her assault, and failed to follow their own training policies and Utah law. And that's the big one you can sink law enforcement on. We've seen many trials where they've gone through police policies, procedures, and training. And if you don't follow it or you disregard it, it's usually a good way to sink you. Petito family is heartbroken to see Moab police officers fail to recognize the danger of Gabby was in. They remain committed to making sure legislators and law enforcement will have the necessary training and resources to identify and prevent similar tragedies in the future. So they are not just doing this for money, they're also doing it for change, for improvement in the law, for improvement in policies and procedures and training and law enforcement. At least that's what this states here. Last week, while in Utah to support passage of a law to require use of training and procedures to more effectively identify and assess these dangers, Nicole Schmidt gave the following statement. Our daughter, Gabby, died as a result of intimate partner violence that could have and should have been identified by law enforcement using the lethality assessment. We believe that if the lethality assessment had been properly used in her situation together with the recommended support and resources, Gabby would still be alive today. Let's take a look at what the lethality assessment is here. The lethality assessment is an evaluation that predicts the likelihood of serious injuries or death. That's the lethal part of it. It provides an easy and effective method to identify victims of domestic violence who are at the highest risk of being seriously injured or killed by their intimate partner. So, pretty much is how it sounds. So, they're trying to implement things like this in law enforcement. Now, I will say there's a lot of people who have felt on both sides, men and women, all sides of the aisle politically, who have felt like the pendulum has swung too far one way or the other many times over our nation's history when it comes to domestic violence, to where a lot of jurisdictions you have to make an arrest, which can ruin a lot of people's lives, a lot of people's job prospects. If the neighbors hear loud screaming and somebody's got to get arrested, and where is that line, and what is the lethality assessment and things like that, it is a difficult water to navigate. I absolutely think the Moab police had enough to do more than they did. And it seems like experts are going to say that they had enough to prove that he should have been arrested for aggravated assault, thrown in prison or thrown in jail potentially. And that if they would have known how serious this was, they would have taken more action to prevent what the experts are going to say was 750% more likely to happen in the future, which was her death at the hands of Brian Laundrie. So I expect more evidence and factual things like this to come out in her case in Florida and Utah that we might not have seen before or might not have known, that are going to add a lot of context so that we can see exactly what was not done to protect Gabby Petito throughout this process. Now, whether the Laundries or their attorney have any liability is still something we'll discuss in the future, but I definitely think there is at least some sort of liability on the Moab Police Department for what happened in this case, how the timeline went, and how the unfortunate events unfolded after their stop for a domestic violence related issue. Let me know if you agree. If you disagree in the comments, that's fine as well. Hit the like button if you're still interested in the Gabby Petito content and these cases, and you want me to follow these cases and continue to give breakdowns. It's very interesting to me, especially this case. So if you guys have questions, put them in the comments. I'll try to get to them, and we'll continue making videos if it's content that you all enjoy and find educational. I appreciate you joining me. That's all we got today.